Hello and welcome to this new video series all about Unreal Engine 4. Within this series we're going to cover the basic UI, we're going to look at creating materials, setting up scenes, import and export of objects, and basically the series is going to run a little bit like I do for my live streams, where I'm kind of going through things. I'm actually using a different recorder this time as well, and I'm gonna actually have my face on screen. Hello. Although saying that, it's kind of taking up the top right of the screen, which is thingy, so it may disappear, it may not, I don't know, it depends. But I'm actually doing this all in one take inside of OBS. I'm gonna try a new format of recording because I found the live streams, bringing them over is quite easy, so I want to try and cut out using Premiere Pro. Hopefully the voice is alright as well. I did do some test recordings to see, because I know some of you were complaining that my voice was a little bit low, so hopefully I think this should be fine, because it's all the settings I use for live streaming. But anyway, I'm back with another tutorial series. And this one we're going to look at, in this video we're actually going to look at Unreal 4's basic UI navigation. So for people who maybe never used Unreal Engine 4 before, or people if they want to kind of have a refresher of it and that sort of stuff. So yeah, so we can get started. So at the moment, I've actually got a project open, which is Cenotaph, which is a project that Tabletop Games is working on at the moment. But what I'm going to show you is how to kind of go from the very beginning, so how to create a project, how to import and export assets in, as well as looking at some of the tools that's down this side here, as well as looking at like lighting techniques and that sort of stuff. Okay. I'm just going to turn my fan down a little bit as well. And that's my laptop fan that's decided to kick in because it's heating up. So let's get started on actually creating a new project. Just going to close that down and bring it up on Unreal. So you have to go through something called Epic Launcher, and you can find it if you go to, I'll put the link in the description of this video, but if you go to Unreal Engine 4, you can download the Epic Launcher from there. And then obviously with the Epic Launcher nowadays, it only used to be the engine. That's all it used to be, was for development. But nowadays you can download games. You've got Q, which is a brilliant game. It's the free game this month. I've got so many friends requests as well that I haven't responded to. Don't know half of them. Probably asking them to play Fortnite. But anyway, so if you come down to Unreal Engine tab, you'll see that you've got like Learn, Marketplace, Library, and what you want to do is download one of the engine versions. Now, Cenotaph is running on 4.23, but I've also got 4.24 installed and 4.25, and we're actually going to use 4.25 for this video series. I'm just going to launch it. Eventually, I think we'll move Cenotaph to 4.25. But just at the moment we're staying with the same version, and that's what you tend to have. Like Sure-footing's been upgraded so many times because it was just like we needed like new tools that had come out, or the Xbox dev kit didn't support the version that we were developing on, and the Switch didn't support it either. So yeah, sometimes you just have to keep going with the current version. And sometimes if it's like an in-house engine, then they don't really tend to upgrade it during the cycle of game development. Sometimes that can be quite difficult. But yeah, what's up? What's up with you? I'll launch 4.23 because I know it works. That's one of the things doing more of a live recording than actually going in and editing at the end, is that, yeah, you kind of have to wait a little bit for this sort of stuff. Come on. Here we go. No, you don't want to play, boy? There we go, it's loading up now. With the newer versions as well, if you've got like a RTX 2070 or 2080, which supports ray tracing, you can obviously use that inside of Unreal Engine now with the later versions of it. I haven't really touched it yet, so we're probably not going to look at that in this series because I still need to get my head around it. Okay, so this is where it comes up, and you can have a look and see what you want to build for. So nowadays, there's lots of different things. Like I haven't created a new project since the new one, so this is interesting because it's obviously got lots of different thingies. So we're going to go with games. Obviously, if you're building for other things, these are all designed for those things. So there's probably like scenes already set up for you to kind of like render your props. But I have also got a video of that anyway. So this is where you can pick what type of camera you want. So we've got first person, flying, puzzle, rolling, third person, top down, twin stick shooter, handheld, side, all these different ones, virtual reality. We're just going to go with a basic first person shooter just to get up to scratch. So you can say, I'm going to say with starter content because we can then play around with things. Maximum quality, ray trace disabled. So yeah, this is all new. This is, but it's pretty standard. And then we just need to find a place to save it. Now I don't tend to save it on my C drive. That tends to be just for Windows. And if you're obviously building this at university or anything like that, you need to kind of like not save on. You need to have a hard drive with you to save it. So I'm just going to go Unreal Demo, select folder. I'm going to call this oh, it doesn't like spaces. I forgot about that one because I've already got one. So create the project. So make sure you always kind of name it what you want to go do. So for example, Cenotaph is called Cenotaph project because it is. That's what it is. Let me just wait for it to load up. Shouldn't take too long. I mean, it's one of those like you don't need a powerful machine to run it, but you're not going to get like 120 frames. I think we're getting 60 frames on this. Okay, so when you first open up, this is what it's going to look like. It's going to look quite daunting in a way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go through what each menu does, where like key items are, and then what in the next video we're going to look at importing assets inside of here. So this is to navigate around the 3D space. If you hold left mouse button and drag your mouse around, that allows you to just kind of drag around. If you hold the left mouse button and right mouse button, it allows you to go up and down, side to side. So it allows you to pan the camera side to side, up and down. Left mouse button allows you to navigate around the scene. And I can use a combination of two, both of them, to move around the scene quite effectively. Middle mouse button also allows you to scroll in and out. And the middle mouse button allows you to pan the camera around like that. So it's all to do with mouse buttons. Now if you're coming from Maya, just be careful because if you press Alt, it rotates on the spot. So just be careful with that. So be careful that you're not translating your Maya and Max controls, navigations inside of Unreal. Now, I'm also going to look at, so that's the basic camera movements in there. Now you can actually speed those up. So you can actually say that, so you've got a massive map and you need to get one side to the other. The only issue with this is it's quite sensitive. So let's bring that back down to 4. Now, one of the cool things with this is if you select an object and press F, that will frame it. So if you need to fast travel to different objects in the scene. Now, just like Maya, you have a outliner, which is actually being blocked by my camera. So I'm just going to transition that. So as you can see here, this is your outliner here. So this is where everything that's in the scene is stored here. So we've got all the cubes, all the walls, and it's just a good way. If you keep this clean, then it's going to be a lot easier when you're building stuff and you've got like hundreds of objects in there, so that you can easily manage the scene. Also, it tells you like what sort of effects are in here. So at the moment we've got atmospheric fog. We've also got a sphere reflection capture, which I'll explain more of those when we go through lighting. It's also got the first person character with the gun. It's got a blueprint for the sky. It's also got the light sources, the light mass importance volume, and a post-processing volume. And I'll go into those more detailed when I actually go through the lighting. So anyway, so let's just, and you can undock that if you want. So if you wanted to say dock it there, you can do. So any of this UI you can dock anywhere. I just tend to keep that the same there. And this is a perfect time to show you how to reset your UI. So if you do screw up and you want things back the way they were, you can go to load layout and you can load the default layout. You can also save your layouts as well. So say, for example, I want 2 content browsers. Okay, I can go to Window and then I can go Save Layout. I'm going to call this Matt's UE4 Layout. My layout. Click Save. Okay, so fingers crossed this works. So if I was to default layout and then go Windows, there you go. I've now got my own layout, and you can see here we've got 2 content browsers. Just gonna move that back up. So we've got now 2 content browsers which are here. Okay, and that's how you can create your own layouts and save them. And if you wanted to take them to a different machine, you just find them in the C drive where they're saved, and then copy that file over and put it into the new computer. Down here you've got something called the details panel, and this basically allows you to edit what you've got selected. So at the moment we've got a post-processing selected, which I'll quickly show you sort of thing this does. Now in this you can change lots of different things, so I can change loads of different options inside of the thing, and if you click the yellow arrow, say I change it and I don't like that change, it'll change it back to the original. So I can untick those. We can do maybe, you see how we're getting more ambient occlusion in the gaps here, and I'll be going through what each one of these means in a later video. But yeah, so I'm just going to dismiss that for the time being. We've also got location scale, so say I wanted to make this bigger, I could do. Yep. I can also change the scale of it as well. Location here. Say I know exactly where I want to put this. Now one thing you need to remember is Y isn't up in Unreal. Z is. So good luck with remembering that. But yeah, so we've got all these different, we can do rotation as well if we want. Now, just like in 3D space, we've also got these tools. So if you press W with an item selected, that's going to give you the move tool, so we can actually move it inside of here. E is a rotate tool, and R is the scale tool. So just like 3D, we can scale things up and down inside the engine. Just remember, if you're doing a block out and it's inside of Maya, you might then have to update the mesh in Maya. So I don't tend to rescale stuff in engine unless I have to, or I'm not going back into Maya basically. Okay, so W, E, R are the hotkeys to change that. Also spacebar is as well with an object selected. So yeah, so that's the details panel. We've also got something called world settings. So if you click on here in settings up here, we can actually have world settings, and sometimes you need to change things, especially in the Lightmass editor. You'll need to change that, but if you haven't clicked on it before, it won't show up here. So make sure you do that. You've got it. You've also got something called project settings, which gives you this menu, and it lets you just change loads of different project settings basically. So anything to do with the project, you can change it here. You can put project thumbnail, you can add all the company name, all that sort of stuff is all done through here. You can also do maps, like what's the default loading map. So if you've got like a couple of maps, we've got a main menu which is the default load map for Cenotaph. So yeah. But anyway, so that's the project settings, and that's where you can find a whole range of different things to change with the project. Along here is a load of different buttons. Now, most of them you're probably not going to use. So for example, I never save here. I always go into File and save the project here, and I'll do that in a minute when we're finished. Source control, you can attach source control if you want. SVN, Perforce. I think those are the two that I know that work. I've never tried SourceTree or GitHub or anything like that, but I think they do. Currently, Cenotaph, we're running off SVN. So on the Cenotaph version, we're actually using SVN for source control. Modes, so this is more for if you're sculpting landscape, foliage and that sort of stuff. Content browser, which is down here anyway. Marketplace opens up the marketplace. We've also got settings, so there's some like different quality level settings here and all that sort of stuff. Blueprints, so this is if you're doing a little bit of visual scripting and you want to go into there, you can create some new level blueprints. Cinematics, so if you're doing level sequences, which I'll go through as well, that can be found here. And yeah, they've actually got rid of the old one. Matinee it used to be called. But yeah, this is so much better and some really cool stuff you can do with it. The build button is to do with lighting, and I'll come back to that in a minute. And the play button, so if we just press play. Oh, that was loud. You guys won't hear it because I don't have the music enabled, but oh my god, that definitely. Standard first person shooter button, so WASD moves you around, left click shoots, and I can't hear myself. Some of these got physics objects in there. And just to escape, you can you can pause, or you can stop, or you can just press escape and it'll stop it automatically. Down on the left hand side here, we've got different objects that we can put into the scene. So we've got lights, basic stuff, like if we want to just put a cube in there, say we're doing like a block out, we can use those for cubes. We can do spheres as well. These are good, empty actors, because they don't show up in game. So if I press play, wait a minute, let me bring that out. We've got the sphere, but we don't have this sphere. So these are good for look at targets. If you're doing a turntable and you want the camera to rotate on a 360, you can add these in and they won't show up in game. You can attach them also for characters and that sort of stuff. So really good, useful thing. They're in Unity as well, empty game objects. Pretty useful. Player starts. We've already got a player start, but if you needed to put one in, you can drag it in. And all these things you can drag in. So, for example, if I wanted to put another light in, I can do. I can change the colour of it as well. And I just press delete, and it gets rid of it. So all these sort of things you can just drag in. So if you wanted a cine camera instead, these are a little bit different to the normal cameras, and I'll go through that in the sequencer video. We've got visual effects as well. This is geometry, which is BSP, which is an old Unreal 4 format. I never use them. We've got volumes, so we've got like a blocking volume, which would block a player from getting out to a certain point. We've got a kill Z volume, so that's if the player drops below the map, kill the player. We've got level streaming, light mask, nav meshes for AI, loads of different volumes all in here. Trigger volume, so if you want a door to open if a player gets close to it, or if you want a camera to follow, like you want an environmental camera to follow the character, then you can do it that way. And they're all based around here, on here, so yeah. Up at the top, we've got the different menus. So, for example, if you can't find a certain menu, you can come in here and have a look at it for it, and then it'll dock it somewhere. Like I said before, you've got the layouts and all those sort of things there. And if you come into here, you've got the save. So I'm going to save current, and that's saved it, okay? Or you can go save all, just to be sure. Save all levels. So when I exit this now, it's sometimes if you made some changes, it will say, are you sure you want to exit because this, and this has changed? Make sure you save it, basically, and make sure if you're transferring the files over, you have all the files associated with that project. I've had students in the past send me files and just given me the Unreal Engine file, not the actual folders. So there's nothing in the project; it's empty. So you just have to be careful with that. And yeah, everything else is pretty straightforward and on the explanation stuff. The only other thing I wanted to show in this video was the content browser, and that is basically because of if you've used Unity before, it's very similar. So in the next video, we're going to actually create some folders and import some an FBX in, and then import the materials for it, and then set it all up. So yeah, it's very straightforward. You can create new folders, import all that, and this is where all your assets live. For the whole project, this is where they all live and sit, and this is where you can find them. And to the factors, like if I right click on this cube, I can actually browse to the asset in the folder, and that's such a quick way of doing things. One thing I will say is I tend to have my content browser like that, just so I've got two, so I can switch between the two quite easily. Same with this one, so if I go browse to asset, it's there. Okay. And if you're clicking in the screen, you can right click and it gives you a whole range of different menu items to look at. So yeah, it's very like one of the cool ones is this. So if I put camera in, I can right click on the camera and go pilot camera, and then I'm actually piloting the camera. So that's a really cool thing to do, and just to exit it. There you go. And if you just want to delete it, you can just delete it. I think that's it for basic UI. It's very basic. It's you learn as you go, basically. The more you work in this engine, the more you find out how to do things and that sort of stuff. And it's like any 3D. So in the next video, we're going to look at importing textures and a mesh. We're also going to look at how to create a material, a master material. And then we're also going to look at, I think that'll be enough for next video. And then, yeah. Thank you to the patrons that you see on screen. It really does help us support the channel. It helps us to pay for software licenses. If you do want to become a patron, you can do if you follow the link below. Everything is greatly appreciated, and everything that goes from the Patreon goes back into the company to help create games, to help do more tutorials and all that. So it does really help. And thank you very much. And I'll see you in the next video.